I'm just going to hit on kind of what we hope that you get out of today. I am excited to introduce Alex in just a minute. I think he does just a really great job of not just talking about what the pros and cons are of these child care benefits, but like, how do I make the decision for my business about which child care benefits are best for me? How do I roll out those benefits so that they're actually used effectively? We want there to be an opportunity for you all to be able to receive perspective from other businesses about how they're thinking about this, and then get really clear next steps, just so you know what to do if you want to move forward with any of that. So, Alex, I'm going to introduce you, and I'll read your bio. Alex Anderson is a total rewards strategist who helps organizations design and implement customized solutions that achieve a myriad of financial, administrative, and workforce goals. With extensive experience across the reward spectrum, from benefits and compensation to development and flexibility, Alex brings a fresh perspective on what truly motivates people and how to translate that into a successful business strategy. He works with a wide range of private and public sector employers, serves on the board of the Rocky Mountain Total Rewards Association, and facilitates regular roundtable discussions with HR leaders. So, help me welcome Alex.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah, love all the great work you're doing, and excited to be here. I'm a Arvada resident. Moved here about 1.5 years ago with my wife. We're loving it, and so this is a topic that has really been top of mind with clients, partners I work with, you name it. It's just such a big need for obvious reasons, and then we're seeing more resource allocation at the organizational level, and kind of incorporating that within the benefits and reward spectrum. And I'm going to kind of fly through this, so have a lot to cover. One thing that I wanted to start with was kind of basically what you already said, is what's top of mind. And just to kind of get like where the room is focused, to kind of expand on that, does anybody have anything else either that's resonating, you hope to get out of today, specific challenges that you're facing, anything that you want to share beyond what you already did? Does anybody here have child care benefits in place? So you said that you did. You sound like you're like you're on the forefront of all this. Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Apex really took an interest into it, that we had so many staff members that were or have had kids and needing a place for childcare, and so from there we looked at the needs, and we looked at our facilities, and then we were able to kind of Campbell Cottages, which is just east a little bit of Campbell Early Learning Center with Jeffco Elementary or Jeffco Schools. We were able to transition that facility into a toddler-based program as well as the pre-K program. So we've always had a preschool there, but then we've renovated, which has been more than what I expected it to be. That classroom into a toddler program.
That's awesome.
And then we were able to provide that benefits. Really, we pushed it out to all full-time employees first, and all employees. Like, if you need childcare, here's the opportunity that we can provide for you. So we have 2. We'll start 3 by December of employees that will have been able to change their childcare needs.
That's awesome.
And attend.
That's great.
Yeah. And I'll tack on to that to say that then after we made sure that it was okay with Apex, we connected and shared information about this toddler program out to the child care network so that businesses then knew about it, because this isn't always about businesses providing a benefit to their employees for child care, but just providing the connection and knowledge, like, hey, there's another facility available for toddlers. Do your employees know about this? So just want to highlight that.
Yeah,
too.
definitely. Thanks. And then just for like the feasibility aspect, can we go around like real quick at how many full-time employees that you have?
I don't
Roughly,
know.
just approximate, just so I don't want to be covering things that like isn't applicable.
Let me look. You get back to me. Give me a minute.
Ballpark.
40.
40.
250, yeah, on
Sorry? 100, yeah, okay, cool, great.
And
That's okay, yeah. I just like it, I have a lot to get through, but none of it is like things that I am like dying to present or to position. So, cause I'm a broker and a total rewards consultant, that I don't have any like ties to any other organization. I'm not pitching a solution, things like that, but I know all the vendors and whatnot, and so my only job is to provide you value, so I just wanted to make sure that that stays consistent. And so just a few quick call outs. So one of how I put together this presentation is I'm a big research nerd, and I went down like a rabbit hole on it, and on just childcare findings, anything from academic level studies, White House briefings, you name it, and kind of compiled the top insights. The other layer is, Jess mentioned I facilitate a roundtable for HR leaders. I've been doing that for over 2 years. We've had over 40 conversations across 2 years, and one thing that I do is keep a master running transcript. It's over 1,000 pages, and it's all peer-to-peer HR leader discussions. There's no, ads, there's no solutions or biased recommendations, things like that. And so I use that as a primary research sample to upload into AI and ask it, hey, what are people talking about with childcare benefits? So that research combined with just firsthand experience with clients and different partners I work with, I kind of just blew everything up and be like, what do I want to cover? What are the most important aspects? So rather than kind of focusing on one topic, I'm going to kind of fly through and cover as much ground as I can. So think fast, grow slow is just a name that I call like my presentation style. Like basically I'm going to throw a lot at you, and it could feel overwhelming or just like a lot to process in the moment, but it's mainly for post-program reference and just giving you things to think about, and then not everything is going to apply to every single person. Same with the takeaways. All my presentations, every person could have a different takeaway, right? And so there's nothing that I hope that you all take away, except again, my job and goal is just to provide you value, if that makes sense. So before we get into it, any questions? We're ready to go. Cool. And all the photos were taken by me, but they have nothing to do with the content, or it's like a personal work-life integration initiative. And so, but yeah, literally nothing to do with the content. So there's a few areas, and the first one is research findings and just business case framing. So the goal is to reframe childcare as an essential workforce infrastructure, proven lever for participation, productivity, and economic stability. So historically, childcare has most often been talked about as a social issue, but in today's environment, it's an important economic variable with measurable workforce impact. So let's start by grounding in the data, looking at 3 key dimensions that define both all of those elements. So first key point is access expands the labor pool. So affordable, reliable childcare keeps parents in the workforce, filling critical labor gaps. So childcare breakdowns cost the U.S. economy $122 billion annually, and that's nearly double it was in 2018. And so when childcare access improves, workforce participation rises measurably. And that's not about participation in the benefit, but in the labor force itself, keeping experienced workers employable. So much of today's turnover stems from flexibility tension, employees caught between remote predictability and on-site connection. So childcare is basically the practical lever that can help resolve that. Affordable care presents talent leakage among skilled parents, particularly women, and preserves institutional knowledge that otherwise would disappear during the child rearing years. So the workforce participation kind of says who is able to work, and the next is how that translates into retention and productivity. And again, we're taking a more broad macro view, and then we're going to narrow down as we go. So stability drives retention in performance. So employees offering childcare programs report absenteeism down 20 to 30% and turnover 3 to 13 points lower than those that don't, or than before they started. So employees aren't scrambling for last minute care, they bring predictability back to operations, and that increased reliability compounds. Less burnout, steadier coverage, higher engagement. So beyond an individual organization, childcare investments can strengthen entire communities, as Jess alluded to. So over half of US families live in childcare deserts where licensed slot falls short of demand. And then 28% of children under 5 lack sufficient care access, and that's from the US Treasury. And so treating childcare as infrastructure, like transportation is, stabilizes the whole labor market. When multiple employers invest through shared services, regional partnerships, stipends, or even just resource sharing like you're doing, it lifts the local labor participation and stabilizes even the broader economy. And so it's workforce development in its purest form, so strengthening talent supply while reinforcing a community's ability to work. And so the conclusion is childcare isn't just a perk, it's an economic input, so employers treat it as infrastructure, not charity, outperform competitors in labor stability and brand trust. But if the case is that strong, and I'm preaching to the choir here, it's like, why aren't more people doing it? So let's keep drilling down. So why childcare support matters for employers. It's kind of a continuation, but for most leaders, the question isn't if childcare matters, it's how it's costing them and in what way. So on the talent side, every major workforce metric, turnover, absenteeism, engagement, recruitment, ties back to whether employees can find and afford care. And so let's unpack how childcare support translates directly into the business performance side. So first, retention outperforms replacement. So retaining parents costs less than replacing them, something you all probably know. A big recent study by Boston Consulting Group found that replacing one employee costs 30 to 50% of annual salary. And that data also showed that childcare club programs pay for itself with only a 1 to 2% retention gain. So if you just keep a couple employees, it's going to have a huge impact, a positive impact overall. So replacing a handful of experienced employees costs more than subsidizing care for dozens. And employers that run that math find childcare programs outperform pay increases or sign-on bonuses for retention value. That was an interesting finding in the data as well. So retention is measurable, but the productivity ripple is just as powerful. So childcare stability restores focus and workflow continuity. So parents receiving childcare subsidies were significantly less likely to miss shifts or quit jobs due to care disruptions. Overall, work interruptions fell by 25%, and that was a massive research sample. So when care becomes predictable, mental load drops, and one's focus can return to the work. So productivity gains surface within weeks, not quarters. Supervisors often notice the improvements first. Shifts run smoother, coverage holds, and overtime dips. So teams function better when managers aren't perpetually covering last minute call-offs, and then this drive not just the output, but the trust, the rhythm, and the reliability across the organization. So beyond just the numbers and what we know, and childcare strategy also strengthens DEI initiatives and team morale as well. So equity, inclusion, drive engagement. So 80% of employers with caregiver programs reported significant morale and engagement gains. When childcare is framed as family support, not just parental perks, it resonates across generations and care types like young parents, elder caregivers, and managing dependents. So that framing reduces non-parent pushback and positions care as business-wide stability strategy rather than a subset or just a niche benefit. There's more to come on this, but the conclusion is childcare just isn't about retention anymore, and not exclusively that, even though that's kind of the main overall goal. It's just a performance stabilizer and a cultural signal about empathy and modern leadership. So organizations that invest see stronger loyalty and a more reliable just workforce. Before we continue, I'm going to kind of drill down on some of the challenges. Any questions so far? Everything making sense? Anything in particular resonating? The presentation actually went away. Nice.
Oh, it did?
Let's see.
Yeah, and I'd say, I mean, this group is well, like, is well versed for sure in like the purpose of like why to give childcare, so I'm glad that you're highlighting some of these bits about like the gains you see quickly.
Yep.
Is there anything I can do for you?
It just like went
Okay.
away. Yeah, it's weird. Minor technical difficulty.
Okay. Un momento. Is anybody cueing music?
Yeah.
No awkward silences?
Lena, was it?
Yes.
Anything that resonates as far as like improvements that you've seen or like things that you just by implementing it, whether it's morale, it could be numbers based, I'd just be curious on some of what you have seen as a positive impact.
Yeah, I think definitely for those that have worked for Apex and that maybe their kids are grown, it is, the feedback from them was like, this is amazing. We're so appreciative that you're doing this. Though we missed out on it, I'm glad that we're moving forward and being able to offer that to the younger staff members that will be transitioning into family, you know, into those situations. So that's been kind of nice to hear back. And then for those that are taking advantage of it, yeah, it's great. Like, they know that their babies are being taken care of by other staff members. They know that it's quality care and that they're just a phone call away. They're not just a kid in a childcare center. Like,
Totally.
they're right there.
That's great.
With us.
So even the non-parents were like, that's great.
Awesome.
Because it's obviously such an issue for everybody, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't hear that all the time, and so that's a great thing, obviously.
Why didn't you do it sooner?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We could have used this.
Yeah.
For sure. So cool. So we're going to kind of keep drilling down and addressing barriers to progress. So the goal is to target key issues that stall childcare progress, cost, equity, and complexity misperceptions especially, and then reframing each as solvable through efficient design and communication. So even with strong ROI data and solid benefits education, most employers hit the same walls. The good news is these aren't structural issues typically, they're design and perception challenges. So let's break down some of these key reasons. First is cost and ROI uncertainty. So many leaders overestimate costs and risk while underestimating impact and future potential, positive returns, talent quality, etc. And for context, I mentioned the roundtable group, and across all of those conversations, the most consistent theme and the biggest pain point overall that I've found, or that HR leaders express, is the pain of getting executive buy-in on people investments. Not so much about childcare itself, pretty much just anything that isn't overtly quantifiable, that you know the hard numbers. You know, there are many things within the total rewards spectrum that isn't quantifiable but has a huge impact. And so one of the things that I position and help just partners do is just to put together a more persuasive argument. And so kind of some of the stats that follow there is childcare prices have risen 230% since 1990, and that's outpaced both wages and inflation. And the ROI data for employers is there. That big BSG study that I mentioned from just last year found that employers offering childcare benefits achieved positive ROI up to 425%, with break-even realized by retaining as few as 1% of eligible employees. So what gives? The real barrier is disbelief for the majority, is executives often struggle to visualize payoff within a single fiscal year and assume a childcare benefit means adding a multi-million-dollar cost center to the bottom line. In reality, whether you add stipends, backup care partnerships, FSA contributions, the cost will be just a fraction of what that turnover is going to be. So the financial barrier is more narrative than math. So focus on reframing childcare as a workforce stability investment, not a social benefit or employee perk. This will help re-anchor it in the CFO's language of risk mitigation and cost avoidance. The second barrier isn't financial, it's cultural. So equity and fairness concerns is another big one. Just going to keep readdressing that because it's a huge challenge for some people, or that they don't know how to address. But leaders often fear backlash from alienating non-parents or creating unequal perks. Like why do parents get preferential treatment? And so only 39% of workers earning under $50,000 can afford childcare. And public funding covers under 15% of childcare expenditures in the U.S., so making employer partnerships critical for affordability. Still, you can expect employees to complain. I'm sure you'll have a couple, especially in a couple hundred life group. Just why, what do I get if they're getting these benefits? But the main, just broad solution is just widening the frame and how you position the messaging. So position childcare under a broader caregiver strategy, supporting families, elder care I heard earlier, foster care, dependents with disabilities, and so forth. I categorize everything as family-focused benefits, but it doesn't really matter. It just kind of all goes into that ecosystem. But you can use clear eligibility rubrics, so income-based tiers or tenure gates to signal fairness while focusing dollars where the workforce risk is highest. For me, the key point, it's one of the biggest parts of total reward strategy, it's segmentation. You'll continue hearing that word a lot just over the years. It's only going to trend up, and basically it's segmenting your population into cohorts based on whatever parameters that you set. It could be generations, role-specific, incomes. There's no limit on how many cohorts that you can have. But if you dive deeper into the data within those cohorts, whatever it is that you decide to segment, you'll find interesting nuances that become more actionable. So for a quick example, if you have two cohorts and you measure satisfaction with the rewards program, find that cohort 1 is satisfied, cohort 2 is unsatisfied. That's a clear problem area that should be addressed. There's a common misconception that fairness means doing everything for everyone. It doesn't, in my opinion. True equity means focusing where support has the greatest impact, on the cohorts where barriers are highest and the improvement drives the best measurable results. So equality treats everyone the same. Equity ensures everyone has what they need to succeed. So that's not favoritism, it's efficient business strategy with smart, targeted investment in workforce stability. And that equal versus equitable could be a sticking point with some leaders, so it could be something that you need to address. It's not saying it's just kind of getting in front of that. Parents would be a segment, folks with children or caregivers, whatever you want to call it, and then you can design not just the benefits but also communication and so on around those, so you're not over inundating people where those messages aren't relevant, like non-parents. So just keep that in mind, segmentation and the benefit that it can have. But the last barrier is complexity and underutilization. So underuse doesn't connote lack of interest, it means friction. When accessing benefits when accessing benefits feels unclear, people disengage. So just an example, nearly 60% of employers offer dependent care FSAs, yet only around 15% of eligible employees use them. It's overall national data, internal data that we have. And then just 4% of those subsidize childcare directly. So there's a huge gap. That's a prime opportunity I'll expand on slightly, but there's many existing tools like dependent care FSAs are underutilized, not because employees don't care, but because the process is cumbersome. Complex forms, delayed reimbursements, and acronym fatigue can hurt participation while causing administrative burden. So cash flow delays are the #1 utilization killer in this realm. Many employees just simply can't wait 6 to 8 weeks for reimbursement. So focus on bolstering benefits education as well as simplifying your processes, shortening payment loops, and automating approvals. Utilization follows clarity, not generosity. Lena, I'd love to hear from you. Sorry to keep calling on you, but just did you have anything as far as the utilization goes since you have implemented these? Anything you did to make the parents aware, making sure that they're using them? Because you're putting all this time and work in to offer it. How are you ensuring that it's getting utilized?
I mean, we rolled it out, we knew it was coming, so we rolled it out throughout the summer that it was gonna be a benefit to the staff first, and so to kind of push that in all the staff meetings, we rolled it out that way, and then when it got closer, really just trying to connect with those that have children that age and more education, right? Like, we didn't come about it like you should use our site. We, or at least my philosophy is really just educating the masses about what childcare is, how it can be work with you instead of against you. Also, UPK are huge factors. When you have a 4-year-old, do you know what UPK is? Are you getting ready to get into that age group? Do you know how to obtain it? So, and that's that universal preschool benefit that we have here in the state of Colorado for all 4-year-olds. Childcare is free. You have to offer. No? Yes? You guys know about it?
Yeah, my friend actually,
Oh, you didn't?
my friend's
No,
here
but I
had
did
that.
live here, so.
Yeah.
No, now, it's interesting that the flexible spending accounts and data, because one of the things that
Yeah.
we know is that the utilization of flex spending accounts typically is in your higher income earners. Partly because the cash flow, but the other piece is I think that you also see that if I'm already getting subsidized on my childcare, or if the tax benefit is greater, they sense the tax benefit is greater to not utilize the FSA, but instead to take, childcare credits on taxes. I think because that's a simpler process, is one of the reasons why I think you see that.
Regardless of the output, like whatever one's better, are you saying?
Yeah, because if you really aren't educated on the tax consequences, then you don't know
Exactly.
the benefit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Are you, or just have a way, that's a great point, to kind of educate on the tax? Because that's a tough one.
Most employers don't.
Yeah,
Most
exactly.
employers aren't gonna advise on that.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot too, because that is a touchy thing on anything tax, but we do it a lot just because it kind of often comes when we're representing healthcare, right? Then you go to the FSAs, HSAs, whatever, and you can kind of present information on that, and something that can be helpful or that's effective is just like short videos, or like basically like what's the difference, what's the impact, kind of help walk them through that. And a lot of whoever your vendors are, their resources go really underutilized. I came from the carrier side, and so I know that from there I worked at Unum, the big life disability and FMLA, all that, and they have like tons of just resources for those exact things, so you don't have to recreate the wheel. So, but that is a good point, and it's not like dependent care FSAs or employer contribution into those is like the end all be all, or will work with every population, but it's a great point.
Yeah, Erin, when you were saying that your experiences that higher incomes use the FSA, is there, and you're probably gonna get into this, Alex, but FSAs, is there restriction on, like, does it have to be center-based care? Because I would imagine that higher income individuals are using more center-based care, or is there?
Well, this is
more
true, because
flexibility?
you do have to have, to be able to get reimbursed, you have to have it on their letterhead, it has to, so yes,
Right.
because, now what's interesting is that I've used backup care models,
Yeah,
and backup care, we didn't require that, so if you watched my kids,
yeah.
you could actually sign off that you watched my kid, you know, but you had to provide, you know, still, this is my social security number and I did this, right? Like you had to certify you were a real person.
Yeah.
But when I've used backup models, you could use non-center based care.
Yeah.
Because it was backup, right? It wasn't intended to be your traditional care.
Right.
But yes, this is one of it, even for me, I use the Y on out of school days and I have to wait to get a statement until the end of the month.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
and you also have to wait until the money's in your account, right? So like I
Yeah.
worked at a company that front loaded the FSA. So then I would, by March, I would have used up my benefits, right? Here, the company I work for now does not. It accrues on your paycheck. So for example, I'm still sitting with summer care that I won't be able to reimburse till almost the end of the year. Yeah.
And that's what we see a lot of, and I would say that would probably be a struggle more for anyone, that you front the money and it's being taken out of your account.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, like I felt it when my kids weren't in monthly childcare, when they got to that 5-6 age group and they were going to summer camp or
Yeah.
they were going to
Oh,
a
yeah.
summer program, money is being just
Oh.
jacked out of my
Oh,
check, and for
absolutely.
no reason.
Right.
And then the bill comes in the summer and I can use it and I pay for the first month, but now I have to save up and not be able to pay
Right.
August until
Yeah.
I get halfway through September, it seemed like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It doesn't, it has to come into your account, you have to go to the program, then you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Then you get to pay for it. It's
Yeah.
not like you get to pay for it when it enters your account,
Yeah.
and it doesn't, you don't get to pay for it when you're,
That's why the front loading was really
Yeah.
nice,
Yeah.
because now, most employers don't want that
Right.
liability, right?
Right.
But it was really nice.
And this is why I'm excited for us to get into kind of the pros and cons of these different benefit models, which is kind of the meat of this, right? Because like Emily, for you and your workforce, like the backup care is really important, right? Because you're not needing something, you know, the hours are different all the time. And so I'm excited for us that was a great question because I think it segues us perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So that is next, but before we get in, Josh, I'd love to hear anything that you have, because you mentioned kind of almost questioning the feasibility, or just like what either challenges or roadblocks or anything are you facing, whether anything we've covered or otherwise.
I think it's mainly just the amount of people who have kids. And like, I know of, I can think of just a few who have had like child care issues and had to call off. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, just need, and yeah, that makes sense. Is your leadership pretty supportive on adding new benefits like these, or is it kind of a,
I think for the most part.
Yeah. Cool, that makes sense. Any other challenges that we haven't discussed, or just anything else that, from here before we go on? Cool. All right, so now really the goal is to equip employers with clear, scalable options illustrating effective child care benefit models and how that they can align with different cost and complexity levels. So there's no single best way to offer child care benefits. What matters is finding the right starting point for your organization something operationally feasible, employee relevant, and again, measurable. So while there's no silver bullet, there are consistent patterns in what works. And so let's explore some of the leading practices. And I'll highlight, I have 6 buckets. I'll kind of highlight them really high level, and then we can expand based on whatever interests you, because I'm genuinely happy to go any direction. So the first is childcare subsidies, whether direct or reimbursement. So this is the most flexible, scalable childcare model. So employers offering childcare stipends achieve ROI within 12 months, says the research, and so that's pretty impactful, because a lot of times total rewards initiatives, people and ops investments take longer than 12 months, so stipends can be a high impact, relatively fast yield. And so employers can pay a fixed stipend, match dependent care FSA contributions, or offer quarterly reimbursements as an example. And so this model scales across income tiers and geographic diversity, and it addresses the biggest workforce barrier, affordability. That's kind of the key, is just making it a little bit more affordable. So of course, even the best subsidy doesn't solve the unexpected, and somebody mentioned the backup options, and so this is a high trust, low cost safeguard for disruptions. So employers offering backup care reduced unplanned absences by around 23 hours per employee annually. And so this model provides emergency coverages when schools close, a spouse is sick, or a sitter cancels. So employers partner with service providers offering at-home or near-site options. I mentioned vendors, and that's something we vet all of them if that's ever of interest. I don't have any specific vendor info here. That's gonna be at the end. I'm gonna ask what takeaways would be helpful, that'll be one, but I'm not covering vendors specifically, but there are a lot that do it. But typically companies fully cover the first few days and then share costs after, kind of like a PTO model. And it is one of the most cost-effective ways to protect reliability. So that makes sense?
Yeah, for both of those, Alex, can you speak to if that, like, people can tap into home-based care or family-friendly neighbor care with that money, or what the restrictions are?
To tap into,
Like if they have a stipend for childcare, can they use it for a neighbor that is providing childcare? Or does it need to be a licensed home-based care or a childcare facility? Like how flexible are these?
yeah, typically the sets the eligibility rules, and so especially on these types of benefits, I'll check and make sure there's no compliance areas there, but typically it's the employer who is setting the eligibility. So they can make it really broad, or they can set really strict parameters.
Mm-hmm.
And so one example, just before I forget, is like LSAs, or lifestyle spending accounts. Has anybody ever heard of those? You will, that's another one that's trending up. It's basically a way to offer more flexibility and choice in benefits. So you basically set a dollar amount that each employee has access to, and then they can put that towards childcare, they can put that towards anything else. And I've seen LSAs or accounts like this that they can truly put it towards anything, like hobbies. Somebody like who was into photography and they bought a camera, and like, but some other employers, which I'm more on this line, is making it more restrictive to like allowing childcare, but not allowing like hobby type things, or gym memberships as an example. So those things can help kind of set some of those eligibility requirements based on your parameters. And that's, I could go down a rabbit hole there, and I am happy to follow up, but that is a best practice that is emerging that you will see trending up over the next couple of years for sure.
Real quick, Alex, I
Please.
guess I'll ask the group, because Erin, you and I have talked about this before. We all know that only 18% of our workforce lives and works here, right? And so just putting it out there, right, to however you guys think about restrictions, that a lot of times for solutions like the stipends or backup childcare, there's not like the matchmaking quite yet that we could do with like providers in your area, like next to Footers, because that's not necessarily where your workforce is or where they want their childcare to take place. They probably want it to take place at home. So just elevating that in case anyone has any thoughts about it.
Totally, yeah, that's great. And I'm big on custom design everything. It's one reason I work at a private company, just to have no like oversight on that, because I'm just a big of like every company's different, you're in different situations, and so designing it around your exact parameters is the way to go, and then just leveraging kind of best practices to set an initial baseline. But good points. So I'll kind of crank through the others and then open it up as well. So the next area is predictable and flexible scheduling. It kind of goes off that last one, but it's basically just structure flexibility. It's the most affordable childcare perk. So 41% of employees rank flexible scheduling as their most valued perk. And just flexibility, work-life balance, you can see going up. It's not always, but that'll be one of them. So predictable and flexible schedules give parents stability without expense. So unpredictability is the hidden childcare cost. So you can't plan when their shifts changes weekly. So giving workers consistent patterns or autonomy to swap costs nothing to improve that reliability. And so now let's continue to drill down a little bit more on the dependent care FSAs and employer matching. So there's pre-tax flexibility that needs awareness, not redesign. And so fewer than 15% of eligible employees use dependent care FSAs that's a SHRM insight, but FSAs just remain one of the easiest childcare tools. And so employees set aside pre-tax funds for care, yet most underutilize them because the process is largely confusing. And so employers can add small matching contributions or automate reminders through payroll to help boost engagement in those. A $500 match often delivers 10 times perception value. Value perception is another total rewards word you'll hear, like segmentation going forward, because that's the most direct indicator of whether somebody leaves or is engaged. Their perception of the rewards program, not the reward itself, not the strength of your medical plan. It's like, what do employees feel is strong? And so that can help strengthen value perception. So anything that you can do to enhance the perception of your reward offerings, childcare or otherwise, will help with loyalty and intern retention. So the next two options take a more structural or partnership-based approach, and is shared or partnered centers. So employer consortiums create regional childcare capacity. So 60% of US counties are in childcare deserts, as I mentioned, and so having some of these programs can help kind of make it not so much a desert, and just there's a lot of room to expand. I'd say the same for mental health as well. And so they're ideal for mixed shift or in-person workforces. So partnering keeps capital costs low while building community infrastructure. And so it's the ultimate reliability advantage. And then finally is the big one, on-site childcare centers. So this is the most visible, impactful, and costly model. It's talk about not feasible. It's not going to be feasible for 95% of groups, but I have had more questions around this and like, hey, what would it cost if we have this? Do you know somebody that can provide it? And there are people out there, but for obvious reasons, this is super expensive, but it has huge benefits, opportunity because of the value it offers, the convenience, things like that. So let's see. So Yeah, so it's high investment, but it delivers high retention and PR value. So even when subsidized, employees still pay part of tuition, or can, in keeping the model more sustainable. So I'll just pause there. Whether anything resonates or anything that you want to talk to or ask your peers, all ears. Who has anything that they want to share or pose? Anything that you're considering or that you want to hear, especially Lena's?
I think that's something that's bubbling for me and that I'm curious about from you all is like, there's a few things you've said, Alex, that make me think about like how you can pilot this and not just make it like available to everybody, right? So you talked about like income levels or tenure. I would imagine performance could be like a benefit that is a part of this, and that it doesn't, you don't have to do everything for everyone, and that, so it seems to me like that's maybe one way to think about it, right? Is like, how might we pilot this and with who? It also kind of gets at what you were talking about, Josh, where like, how is this feasible? Is it cost effective? But if you're looking at like the employees that are really struggling with this, that you want to make sure that you retain, that have really high performance. I'm just curious how you guys think about that, or like how that would even resonate with leadership or your organizations.
I can tell you, we wouldn't offer a benefit that we didn't provide to everybody.
Okay.
Because of discrimination, bias, other things based on the size that we are.
Mm-hmm.
My first question was compliance. Like, I don't even know Colorado. It's been a while since we've done an employee compliance workshop, but I don't know if legally in Colorado you could even do that.
I don't think you could,
I don't
because
think you
the
could.
issue would become is you would say, oh, well, we're gonna provide it to parents only. So now then, you know, those who are not. But I don't know that that class would be protected, but I do think that for most people, I think you would. Now, if you were gonna run a pilot, you might say, hey, we have 10 spots.
Right.
We're the first 10 people that want to participate in the
Right.
pilot, and that could be different,
Right.
right? But I think it's something that you would wanna offer to everybody. One of the things, we did backup childcare at one of the facilities that I worked at, and it was interesting because we did it through care.com. So we provided every employee a membership, and we provided every employee, ours was only 10 days of backup care a year. But to your point about the family friendly, we did both elderly, you could do elder care or child care. So it didn't feel as much like this is only a parent benefit, this could be elderly care. And there's somebody I was thinking of, you know, kind of related to this, like that they were having to leave and take care of a parent, you know. But we also did it as a kind of a co-share to, for example, like the employee was responsible for like, we told them it was, you have to pay $8 an hour. You submit your expense and then we pay a maximum of 20 per hour or whatever it was. Like there were some guidelines, but it meant it was some co-sharing a little bit. So there was a piece where the employee had, you know, had like something in it,
Yeah.
right? But it really was a really nice benefit because I think like over here with this is, it was great for, and I was saying, even I use this, like when I would have to come in and work like I might have to meet with people after hours, then I would have to arrange somebody. And because of what he was talking about how you could design it, then that one could be used for family care or someone in the neighborhood taking care of. And so for that, like, or even to this point, someone's sick, a lot of times a family member would take care of them if you could pay them. But you can't pay them if you gotta go to, you know, it's difficult to pay them because you're going to work and it's outside of your normal care expenses. But it also could be used for those days where kids are out of school, right? Where it's like a school holiday, but it's not a work holiday.
Yeah.
Like Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always one. I mean, I love that.
Is
from
there
a
no
design.
school on Friday?
There wasn't for my kids.
Yeah.
Oh.
I love that from a design perspective, right? Because like going back to cost and this being feasible, to be able to say like 5 days out of the year,
Right,
you know what I
whatever
mean?
it is, right, and you
know.
might start it with like 5 days or whatever, and you offer it up to see how it goes, but you make it a benefit available to everybody, and knowing that not everybody's gonna use it, and also, you do still have to submit for reimbursement, okay? There's not a way not to, right? Because it's not like instantly, oh, hey, I can't go to work today, and now we're paying somebody instantly, but if the process is, faster,
Yeah.
then, but it's a unique, it's a unique one because it allows everybody to, in essence, have that benefit, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
and it seems to get after the value perception piece too. of
Well, it
like,
is, because-
maybe it's only 5 days, but like being like, dang,
But
all
if
right.
you're, willing to pay up to, let's just say it's up to 200 for the day,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so now that's $1,000 benefit. That value perception looks great because everybody has that benefit, even if only 20% use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even if, while 20% use it, on average, they're only using 1 or 2 days,
Yeah.
right? Reality is most people aren't gonna use everything that you
Yeah.
offer. Now, there's always some that will use everything, right? But it's just a unique one that's different, because it's easier to explain and understand than a FSA.
Totally, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, those are great points. And when we met initially, I was like, should I do family forming? So I can do all caregivers. It was like, no, this is a child care specific cohort. So I totally am in line with that. I will play devil's advocate though on offering it to everybody. So just this example, the LSA basically providing a set pool of dollars that they can put towards various benefits. That specific example I was referring to, they actually give that to employees who have to come on site. So they have a lot of employees come on site, but it makes sense, right? Because they need the care, right? And
Right.
so you think about salespeople, they get bonuses and trips and things that other employees don't have access to. There's all sorts of rewards, regardless of defined or not, that not are applicable to certain groups of people. And so I think what you did sounds like what I would suggest, that just the caregiver overlying, it sounds like a great program. But there are times that you can target it. I am big on pilots as well. I'll touch on it in the next part, but if you kind of need this size to run a pilot, just because running a pilot on like one employee, just not going to give that much data back. And so, but part of the pilot is also just goes back to that executive buy-in piece as well, and proving what you're doing is working, because you've seen all the data, you already know it's like, it's worth it. The ROI is there, it's going to be a positive impact, going to improve perception, all that. Measurement and getting those results is really to help reinforce it to the CFO. And so I will touch, let's see, we go to what, 220?
Yeah, I'll close this out, start closing
Sweet.
this out.
Cool, yeah, so I'll kind of go through some of these points a little bit quicker, and then there are things that I can follow up with too. I have a document on tax, I have what are large employers doing, those things kind of trigger if anybody's interested, and so I didn't want to over inundate or just bring a bunch of handouts, but we can always get this back, and I have a lot of material that you can expand if needed. But for design and implementation process, and it's really about moving ideas into action. So launching a childcare doesn't require reinvesting into HR. The key often is sequencing, clarifying the business goal, aligning the scope, and activating it. And so implementation also doesn't need to wait for open enrollment, and I've mentioned this, and that's something that I'm a big proponent on, is off-cycling ancillary benefits from medical. It's not always feasible, but it's basically when you think about you're enrolling for open enrollment, right? You're an employee going through open enrollment, you have health insurance, which is extremely complex for even people in the industry, let alone people not. And then you have dental, you have vision, you have SSAs, HSAs, life, disability, worksite benefits, retirement, all of that, and so employees get overwhelmed. And so when you launch a benefit, I always recommend doing it during your least busy time, or just not during open enrollment is really kind of what it comes down to. Habitat for Humanity is one of my clients, and they were a 7-1 anniversary date of enrollment. but we're doing like a holiday benefit education kind of initiative to help bring some of the key points top of mind, FAQs, you know, whatever it may be. So don't feel that you have to do these in that open enrollment window. And so I kind of laid out just some of the design steps from a broad standpoint, just to get you thinking from the back end process. But first, you just define your business goal. Start with whatever the desired outcome is, not the offering that you have in mind. You want to increase retention by X% ideally, absenteeism, boost engagement. If you have employee net promoter score, that's a good, easy one. But it's, before choosing vendors or budgets, clarify what success means. Lower turnover, improved attendance, and so forth. And then just tie every design choice to that outcome, and the ROI math will follow naturally. I'll skip some of the specifics, but with goals clear, align eligibility and scope to keep the program targeted and measurable. So the alignment's a huge part of total reward strategy and like the integrated approach that I take, because there's so many different rewards and buckets, and total rewards encompasses your top 2 expenditures, payroll and benefits. Every company in the United States, that's within total reward strategy. And so aligning those across some of those elements, I segment total rewards as compensation, benefits, flexibility, work-life balance, culture and development. And so there's things that overlap within everything. So it's something to think about that from an alignment standpoint. And then start small and intentional, especially if you're just thinking through this. You don't have to go, right into a on-care support. You can start with a small contribution, see how that works from like a pilot standpoint. The piloting can include, not like a subset of employees. It does often, but it can also be like you're piloting a solution or strategy launch, you're measuring those results. At the end of that period, you then assess the effectiveness, and then once whatever that says, then that'll help dictate your direction. So I see a lot of people kind of get almost too ahead of themselves sometimes, but if you kind of got to the point where you're implementing something, you take it slow and then just kind of keep track on results as much as you can. Let's see, select delivery model and timeline. So put your strategy in motion and launch the solution just as soon as possible. Like I said, as soon as you can. HR especially, you have so much on your plate. It's like, you can't get to everything, not at once, but pick a timeline. But as we said, these strategies and solutions, childcare, it works. So it's like, try to launch it as quick as you can. But most vendor-supported pilots can go live in under 2 months if you wanted to get there. So once you lock in that pilot rhythm, and then artifacts, so you can measure everything cleanly. So securing buy-in, kind of the next piece, and then executive and cross-functional buy-in. So state your case with data and value alignment. I mentioned the data, the effectiveness results of those pilots, or just anything that you have. It could be research, it could be use cases from others, case studies. If you need any case studies, let me know on this or anything else, but it's always good to compare against peers first. That's like the most basic data. Anybody can get you benchmarking data, so that's a good just starting place. But you present the math besides the cultural impact and retention gains, employee perception and satisfaction, because it can connect the logic to leadership values. So when finance and operation co-own the outcome, the approval will accelerate, and that will help get that buy-in. And then the final step is measure impact early and often. And I kind of already just mentioned that, but just keep track. I was facilitated a panel for the Rocky Mountain Total Rewards, and on that was an HR leader from Amazon, and she said that they do engagement surveys like every day in some capacity, which was mind-blowing, and it's hard to think how that almost would even work, but it's one of those things of like, Amazon's known for efficiency, right? They have, the tech, they have the infrastructure to do that and handle that somehow. You obviously don't have to go to that level of measuring and looking at data, but tracking and keeping track of trends, especially with AI to help you kind of find those correlations can be big, because you're going to need those results, and it's just if and when it becomes successful, it's good to show what you did, because it's impactful work. Really the conclusion is just implementation isn't about scale, it's about sequencing. So small pilots with clear goals, fast wins, and visible metrics prove value faster than trying to design the perfect plan, because there's not really one. And so next, let's see, so I'm going to actually kind of skip these engagement and communication strategies, but it is a big part. But like designing childcare benefit is kind of the easy part. Getting leadership and employees to believe in it, that's where those problems live. And I've mentioned these, it's kind of to reinforce these key points. And the big one I've said several times is executive buy-in. The big piece to think about if you had a takeaway would be opportunity costs. It's the loss of potential gain from one alternative when another alternative is chosen. And opportunity costs are in every single decision. I'm big on behavioral science. I went super deep into bias research, and the most powerful bias is loss aversion. And people want to avoid losses over seeking a gain. And so even if we say we could save X amount, or the turnover percentages, or employee retention, it would be more persuasive if you reframe that and being like, what are you losing by not having these benefits? And we talked about segmentation. High potential, high performers if you're not doing that, that would be a key best practice, because those are the folks you do not want to lose under any circumstance, especially to a competitor. And so speak their language, but if you can kind of show potential losses or what the negative impact is by not having childcare benefits, that will help you make a more persuasive argument. But once the leadership buys it, the next challenge is helping employees see themselves in the benefit. And so storytelling drives utilization, so people use what they relate to. So replace HR jargon with stories. If you can get testimonials firsthand, that's ideal. Spotlighting manager who stayed after parental leave, or a frontline employee who avoided a missed shift. Could be anything. Short videos, again, are really effective. But give managers a one-page talking card. This kind of holds for really any reward of like that manager level. One, it's the number one reason people leave their job is direct manager relationship in every industry. The data is actually pretty wild. But you want to get managers to help engage and create better relationships. But if you communicate rewards, beginning of safety briefings, could be a team meeting, it reinforces, one, what you're offering, a really robust plan, but it also kind of helps show like, hey, we care, and we want your feedback. We want to make sure that you know about them and utilizing them. So something to consider there. And then inclusive messaging and cultural alignment. It kind of goes with what we said around just the caregiver aspect. And so inclusive caregiver framing boosted engagement 22% across all demographics in a major study. And so basically just broaden the lens. So childcare is one pillar in family-focused or caregiver strategy. That includes some of those other elements, but you can connect it to flexibility and predictable scheduling, and not policy talk. Private Q&As, different educational events can help do that. But communication isn't just a phase; it's a maintenance plan that keeps benefits alive. So you have to sell the why to leaders, tell the story to employees, and then keep doing both year-round. And so 5 minutes left. I'm going to go through this because I have so many different examples and case studies, and I can send it in the follow-up items of what other people are doing and things like that. And so I'll close out and see if there are any remaining questions. Let's see if there's anything. Okay, so we've covered the why, the models, and the proof, and now it's all about action. So just taking the first step that fits your organization. It really starts with the internal conversation, HR, finance, operations alignment. You want to pilot small, measure hard. Just don't go out guns blazing. You just take it one step at a time and measure right away. And then leverage tax credits and community partnerships. So there are some tax credits, and I actually, speaking of AI, I use AI to have anything childcare related, specifically applicable to Colorado. And so I'll send that list to consider. It's out of my realm. It's kind of take it or leave it, but they're just tax considerations, obviously. And then the last thing that I wanted to kind of leave you with, or if there's just like one that I'm passionate about, it's going to be on the forefront of total rewards at some point, but it's social determinants of health. Is anybody familiar with that phrasing? So basically it's the socioeconomic factors that impact health outcomes, and there's a lot: transportation, affordable housing, childcare, and that goes to that integration point. And there's so many key components, but that social determinants of health is a huge impact area that you can help make a real difference. But it kind of goes with anything that you do will make a difference. And the fact that you're here, you're already ahead of a lot of your peers and just exploring these benefits. And that is all I have for now. So thanks for the opportunity and for your attention. And yeah, please, if you have questions, all ears.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. You guys, I'm gonna close this out. I was thinking as you were talking about the leave behinds that you want, and just
Yeah.
wanna open it up to the group.
For sure.
This is being recorded. There was a lot of information that was cooked out in here, like that Alex talked through kind of verbally. And then there's stuff on the slides. I was even thinking like, you know, as you were talking about like preparing for a meeting with exec or to staff, you could almost like take this recording and put it through AI and lift a lot of those like key data points or things like that. Is there any, when he thinks about leave behinds and things that you want linked in the follow-up email, is there anything that would just make your life a whole heck of a lot easier as you think about like piloting one of these benefits, whether it's like what tax credits are available right now or contact information, like what is it that would just make your life easier to put something together and try something in your organization?
I think the tax credit information could be beneficial.
Okay.
I'll add compliance implications if there's any in there as well. But yeah, definitely the tax.
We have case examples with subsidies for like how they're tracking reimbursements, right? Because it's like, someone's like, oh yeah, I paid cash to a babysitter for $60. Like, how do we track?
Mm-hmm.
What feels measurable, right? This is actually important.
That's why
Yeah.
we had a form
Yeah.
that they had to fill out saying, this is the day, this is who provided it. They had to sign the form.
Yeah.
So, and yes, it's manual, and that's why we use care.com, because they are the compliance piece, or whoever, which is hard in a smaller organization. But still, that's your compliance piece, I think, is that there still has to be that review.
It has to be trackable and manageable because
It does.
chaotic.
It does, right, because since you're the director of hospitality, you know, the question is, do you have a administrative, you know, person?
It's also me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's also me, actually.
But that's where the third party really, if it's, you know, because you don't want to be tracking that, but it has to be affordable enough that you
Yeah.
can do it. Yeah.
And for a small group of people.
Yeah,
I'll definitely
Yeah.
follow up on that. Cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at Allie because Alex has these leave behinds in this research, and also I have it, I think, on this slide. Our Business Resource Center can also, like, these conversations inform what we make available in our Business Resource Center, and I don't know, Allie, if you have any thoughts about that, but as we make these connections about what else you all need to be able to actually do this in your organizations, we can talk about, like, whether that comes out of programming or resources that are available. Allie, I don't know if you have any thoughts about
Well,
that.
I don't, like, I could say that as a former business owner, I wouldn't offer anything like this unless it was tax deductible, just to be honest. Like at the end of the day, they are businesses and they have to make money, right? We can't do good work if we don't have money. So I think that's probably the next step, is really exploring what tax benefits are available for businesses who are offering this. My guess is they'll be coming from the state and not from the federal government right now.
Yeah.
But they're just, I mean, we've already seen cuts in childcare subsidies, so
Yep.
dark times.
Yeah.
No, but even, it's interesting because even I was running numbers through my head because we've never talked about this specifically since I've been there. I'm not saying we haven't in the past, but since I've been there for our business, and yet I was running these numbers in my head of the productivity and the like the impact of having to run overtime
Mm-hmm.
and how much that costs us. And, you know, if I had us, if we ran, you know, a backup care is, could we save a day of overtime a year? Like what that
Right.
costs us, and could we then pay for that benefit, in my mind, right? And so I think, to Ally's point, you have to have that return for the business. These are gonna be, they're gonna come off your expenses, right? They're gonna be a part of your business expenses, but if you can get the return for them,
Right.
then it's probably worth it. But I do think that the credits and the things that maybe you can get can then offset some more.
That's right.
And part of the messaging is not just to focus on the immediate financial return in the first fiscal year, because if you track things like the retention metrics and then like improving those retention metrics, you know, cost of hiring, and also like factoring in what it takes to train and get a new person, that's where you see the biggest ROI. But it's, you kind of have to like, you have to set your framework and get like making sure that you're tracking to the right thing. So, but yeah, the ROI is key. It's just sometimes it's not overtly apparent, especially immediate.
Yeah, and I love that you, like, it's not, it's like that opportunity cost of cost shifting, right? Like, it's what we would have spent here, but we're spending it here. And then the timeline of when that money comes out. So if that's something that's interesting to dig into in order to get it to a place where it's like pitch worthy, you know what I mean? Then we can talk about that.
Yeah.
I am just gonna highlight, because I, like, Foothills Regional, Levanova, like, you guys show up for your employees and your workforce, and I just wanna make sure, because we've got Apex and Footers already as part of our family-friendly workplace program. It's totally free to you guys to just take this 45-minute assessment and see where you land, and you get a free consultation out of it from our partner at HealthLinks. There's an optional quarterly cohort. They're meeting tomorrow about elder care specifically. And then you get a digital badge if you score high enough on the assessment. You might, like, with how engaged you all are in supporting your workforce, you might like just take the assessment and get scored in a way that you get badged, and that can go on to like job descriptions and out to your staff and onto your website as a family-friendly workplace. This isn't like, who knows if this program will always be around, but right now it's free and we have it available to businesses. So want to make sure you guys specifically know about that, but any other businesses that you know are showing up for their employees is like you guys are, I want to make sure you all know about it. I'll send this deck out so that you have the QR codes, but I will ask you to just scan this one, please, because I want to get a sense of, after this conversation, like where your business sits in offering childcare benefits to your employees. What do you think about the impact? What do you think about the feasibility? And then I was starting to get into this, but like, what specifically do you think the chamber could do to just support you on this journey, right? Like we're really trying to move away from, I know that this presentation and ones that you guys have been into in the past have had some level setting conversation about like the need, and we know what the need is, but like what are the tactical things you guys need to be able to do this stuff that we can build on from today. So that's that piece, and then the last question there is anything in the space of like talent pipeline, childcare, housing, advocacy, that you feel like is a pain point or a challenge for your business right now, that you would want us to address in a future session, or provide a resource, or what have you, because that's gonna go back to our advisory councils, okay? So, it all informs everything we do. I really appreciate you guys being here. Go, no, boogies, go. I'll see you later.
You know, coming and going.
Yeah, no. You guys, thank you so much for the time. Alex, thank you for your time. And if you guys have any questions as we kind of get cleaned up, just let us know.